Hi, my name's Londe Yusuf,
And my name is Reggie Williams.
and we're the co-founders of Black Film Space. Black Film Space is a grassroots organization dedicated to enhancing the skill sets of Black filmmakers and building a community of creatives. We host events such as screenwriting workshops, panels, mixers, and other events that are designed to support Black content creators.
In the next episode of the Black Film Space podcast, we interview Maya Table. Maya is a music video director and producer based in Atlanta. She has produced music videos for 21 Savage, Travis Scott, and Teyana Taylor. We talk with Maya about breaking in as a director and producer, the music video workflow, starting a production company, and much more. And now, on to our interview. All right, Maya, thank you for joining us on the Black Film Space podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm excited to be on.
Can you walk us through your journey from interning at 106 in Park to producing music videos for A-list rappers?
So I started off as I went to go to school for dermatology and found out I was squeamish to blood. So I changed to film actually after seeing The Best Man, and I saw Nia Long in that movie, and I thought whatever she did looked interesting. She was a TV director. So I went to film school and applied for the internship without getting film credit just because I wasn't able to because I was a sophomore. And the main reason for that was because once I got out of college, I wanted to start working on sets and not have to get out of school and then intern. And I had a friend at the time who wanted to be a director. I had a few friends that wanted to be directors, and I wanted to be a director as well. But I just took on the producer arm because I'm more of a problem solver as well. So I started producing from there, just getting your feet wet, just doing unsigned artists. And at one point we started producing videos for Jeezy. He saw one of the small videos that we did. And then from there, it kind of took off. But I was happy to be able to just do unpaid work because you're able to do your mess ups there. I mean, I mess up all the time, but you learn. And then I think just from there, you keep making connections with people, and people refer you. Our whole industry is so referral based, so it's all based on your next job. 90% of my business has been referral. So like an assistant director referred me to Janelle Monáe on that project, and then like an intern she used to be my intern. She worked at Netflix, and then she referred me to work on some stuff with them. So you just never know where your referrals come from. So it's just more about just doing a great job and treating people right. And then all those things that you want are going to come to you if you just stay consistent.
Of course, of course. So you said 90% of your work is from referrals. The other 10%, how are you finding that work?
The other 10% is I actually, go kind of go after clients. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I like see a need that a client has and say, hey, well, here's the services I have to offer. And sometimes they'll immediately want to do something, or a lot of times it'll take them a few months or even a year, but they still have you in mind. And then when they have something, they say, hey, remember when you talked to me about XYZ? Like one time I sent out just an email blast to a bunch of people, and then a publicist was the only person I think out of like 30 that called me and hired me, and they were doing some stuff for Red Bull, so I filmed their stuff. So I mean, I always have to like, it makes me cringe because I'm an introvert. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta put myself out there. but it worked out. And I also did that last year at an event in New Orleans. I met the brand director for at Procter & Gamble for Head and Shoulders. And so she kind of kept that in mind. And then I just directed actually for online commercials for Head and Shoulders. And that was just like swallowing my pride and just saying, let me just talk to her and just see what happens.
That's amazing. Can you talk to us a little bit about your production process and how you work on projects from start to finish?
It starts a few ways. Sometimes the music label, if we're talking about music videos, a music label will come to me and say, hey, we have this budget and this project and we have this director attached. But sometimes the directors come to me, they'll say, I already have this budget from this label and I need a producer.
Okay.
So it'll start one of those two ways. And from there, I take a look at the treatment. And sometimes I already say, the budget for this is $75,000. And I read the treatment and do a budget based on, the locations that are in that treatment, the crew that I know that I'll need to execute it at a high level. And sometimes I can, just by reading the treatment before even doing the budget, I can say we don't have enough money for this treatment, just based on the budget, just based on, what I see. And from there, once the budget gets approved, because although you have the budget, you still have to get the line by line approved. From there, I still put soft holds on the people that I want to use as soon as I get a project, just because, sometimes it might take a week or a few days for a project to roll. And I just hate for my dream team people to be working on other projects. So I just say, hey, hold this date for me. And I'll just send them like a text message. And for producers out there, that's like one of the major keys, because people get booked up really fast. And then from there, I hire on my key people, which is my AD, my DP, and my PM. And then once I hire on the DP, I let them decide who they want for their, grapher AC. And we hire our vendors, and we just do production prep, which is scouting locations, basically doing everything in that treatment. And then the knots start every morning of a shoot. I have knots in my stomach, and I start the countdown. I'm like, oh wow, I can't wait till the next day. And that's actually what I say. Even when I direct stuff, I'm like, oh my god, I got to be on set in front of people, because most of my work is like behind the computer until the prep day and the shoot day. And I'm like, oh gosh, I got to answer questions. I got to, it's stressful being the producer, because you are like the final say. You can't say, oh, somebody will take care of it. You are the somebody that has to take care of everything. So I'm always like, oh gosh, is it over 12 hours yet? So once the shoot happens, I make sure that the editor gets the footage that night or the next day, and then we start to wrap out based on everything we shot, doing returns. And then the post-production process starts. Sometimes as a producer, I'm not involved in it. And sometimes I am, like especially if it's visual effects jobs, I'm getting stronger as a visual effects producer. And so usually I'm involved throughout that whole process. And then it wraps out usually 2 weeks to a month after we shot it.
Can you talk a little bit about the treatment? Because I'm assuming that to a degree is similar to like a script.
They used to even look more like scripts when I first started producing like 10 years ago. And then even when I was interning, and I would see treatments. But now treatments look like a pitch deck. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because what I find is a lot of times the artist or the label, they want to get the feeling and the aesthetic that you want to go for. So a lot of the treatments that get chosen that I see, the aesthetic of that treatment is beautiful, because they feel like, oh, I like this person's vibe. I like the energy that they want. I like the lighting that they want, and from the pictures that they chose. Because sometimes people don't even read the treatment. They'll just look at the picture and say, boom, I want to work with that person. And sometimes they do read the treatments. But the ones I've seen have been beautiful. So when I do my own treatments to pitch myself to direct jobs, I'm like, oh, it takes me hours to find those pictures, because you just want to get the right images to articulate what's in your mind.
And so just to clarify, the director and the music label and the artist collaborate on putting that treatment together before the production team lays eyes on it, right?
Well, mainly the director.
Okay.
Like, the director will listen to the song and say, this is my idea of it. And usually the music label would send that song to a number of directors that they feel like will do a great treatment. And then from those directors, the artist will choose that one treatment that they really like.
And what makes a good treatment?
Yeah, a good treatment are the ones that have a lot of pictures. Like, say, usually they'll start off with one main picture for the main page in the title. And then the next page will have like a summary of what the treatment is what the whole video is gonna be like. And that'll have maybe a few more pictures. And then the next page starts, okay, verse 1, this will happen. And they'll kind of like break down each verse, what they see, and each chorus, what they see. But yeah, the ones that I love the best, because there's some treatments I'm just in love with. So when I produce a project, it's cool to see how the treatment looks exactly like the video that we shot. But those are the ones that just have, I always say like those crunchy things, those things that just make it like, oh, I just feel every single part of this before I see it. And they'll have even pictures that aren't totally related, but they have like mood board stuff in there. And that's actually the word I was looking for. Treatments feel like a mood board of what you feel for that song.
There are certain rules when you're writing a screenplay. Is there like anything that like we should know about in regards to writing a music video treatment, or is it just like this is like a synopsis essentially?
Yes, synopsis, but using adjectives. Like it's one, like I shot a like a profile piece for Lululemon and this artist called named Stick. And it was one part of the treatment that stuck out to him so much. He was like, "Oh yeah, I just really feel what you put there." And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "He put like it'll rise up and crush black and whites. What is that? I love that." I was like, "Yeah, it's just dark black and whites. I just just sound great." But it says, you want words that make you sound passionate too. And I think that's the main thing. Passionate, and also like you'll use some, technical lingo in there, not too much, but just like, like I think I said in that line, we'll shoot this in a crushed black and white in 60 frames per second, in a slow 60 frames per second. And when you read it, it's like, wow, that feels cool.
I wanted to go back a little bit to get some more detail about producing and post production. Like, what's the workflow when you're doing that?
So sometimes the workflow is more simplified. Like, so say if there are no visual graphics, like no motion graphics, none of that stuff, then it will be so come from set as soon as while we're on set, we have a DIT, a media manager, who is getting all the footage onto a hard drive. So throughout the day, the second AC will bring the memory cards to that digital tech, and they'll be saving all the footage and downloading all the footage. And so at the end of the night, the director would get a hard drive and the producer get a hard drive. We always have two. And then so as a producer, usually I'm the one that will take that hard drive and mail it the next day to the editor. And so the editor will get the footage, and he or she will also get the treatment. And so for them, we may have a call with the director, sometimes not, but usually the editors are able to get the first draft of that music video just based on how the treatment reads. So they'll give us the first pass. We'll go through a few rounds, usually like 2 rounds of edits just with the director. And then once it's at a second round, we'll show it to the artist and the label. And that is because you just want to, sometimes the editors don't get it exactly on the nail on the head. So you want to be able to get something more solid before you show it to the clients. Because usually clients are not creative. So if you show them something in rough form, they're like, what? What's happening? So you want to get it a lot tighter before they see it. And then they'll give their edits. And you never want to like have your editor do 6 rounds of edits before you even show it to the client, because the editor is going to start taxing you for time, because editors usually do like 3 rounds of edits. Sometimes they do 4 or 5, but usually 3 is like sometimes a max or a minimum. But you want to just not max them out before you show it to the client. And it also gives the client time to give approvals that are within the editor's budget. So usually I say, tell the editor they'll have 4 rounds of edits. And so once everybody is happy with the edit, the artist, the client, the director, are all happy with it, then it goes to color correction. And the colorist we'll take the hard drive that the editor has and make a copy of that, and we'll have him or her send that to the colorist. And so the colorist will take that edit and put it usually in a program called DaVinci that a lot of colorists use.
Yeah.
And they'll color grade it there, and then they'll send clips to the director to look at, and they'll make tweaks. And then once they're done, they'll send a file back to the editor, and he'll lay the color down and then re-export it out and finalize it. And the cool thing about music videos, you don't have an audio mixer in there, so it's just usually final then. But if it's commercial spots, then you have, while the colorist is doing their thing, I usually have the audio mixer mixing the audio as well. So those two are finalizing at the same time. Usually the audio mixer and the colorist, I wait till the edit's close to final, so that there's no major changes for them.
And how long does all of this take?
It just depends on the deadline. Okay. Some projects has been done in a week. Some have taken 2 months. I really hate when they take 2 months. Usually, you know, a month max is great, but sometimes they take 2 months, sometimes three. And so it just depends on like when their deadline. And usually, another thing I do as a producer, when I get the budget, I ask, okay, what's the budget, the treatment, and when do you need this final video done and to you? And then from there, I'll backtrack, back up and do a timeline of production. I can say, okay, well, this is when we'll have the video finished, and this is a shoot date, or this just can't happen within that timeline.
How do you decide which projects to work on?
Usually it's based on the budget and the treatment. Like if I like the treatment, especially now since I'm moving back into directing more and liking producing less and less, I really just base it on like, do I like the director as a person, and do I like their idea? Because now I think I kind of also have like a certain just certain type of jobs that I take on that people kind of know me for. So I also am conscious of that. So I'm like, what fits for my overall brand? Like, because I love a good hood ratchet video. That is my jam. But it has,
Yes.
but it has to not just, it has to be somewhat creative. It can't just be, I want, some strippers and some cars. I'm like, and that's it.
Right.
We would say no. But if it's something cool, like this one video we shot for 21 Savage that never came out. It was in a strip club and it had a fight break out in the strip club, but everybody was just frozen. So the camera, we were using like the Bolt robot arm. It was just a camera floating through the whole club. So everybody did that. So it was pretty cool.
Has there ever been a time where the client or the label was not happy with the music video? And if so, how did you handle that?
Yeah, that one.
They just don't come out. They just ain't coming out.
Because with that one, so we shot the video, and then a few weeks, maybe a month after, while I was in post-production, it was heavy visual effects for that. So that's happening. The director chose one guy, even though I had recommended somebody else to do the visual effects. And at that point, I was coming off doing the Travis Scott Sicko Mode video with all those visual effects. I was a post producer on that. Some just like, why won't you listen to me? I know who to go with. But the director was this person, and they were terrible. So we had to get on another person to start like in that month. So they delayed about another month. And during that delay, 21 Savage, that's when the whole deportation thing happened. So the timing of putting out that music video just didn't feel right for him. Like he came out with that song a lot at the time, and the video felt more like rich and Black and family, and that felt right. But our video did not feel right, so they canned it. I would have too, actually, because it just was not what he needed at that moment.
Yeah. But what about like just straight up creative differences?
Well, that happened on a job I directed a few months ago, actually, where we went into it. And a lot of times, adding to like people or projects I don't take on, they're kind of like if people are newbies, if the client is a newbie at production, then those usually never turn out right. So this one, we went into it cool, but then during the shooting process, the client just changed their mind a bunch of times. And then the post process, they changed their mind even more.
Oh boy.
Like their communication style was different. So like, they and sometimes, because with production is stressful because you're having to work with people and get comfortable in this short period of time. They need to be comfortable with you as a producer director to talk to you about their ideas, to give you all their money, to give you all their credit card information in a short period of time. And sometimes they have a hard time with that. So that is that kind of struggle that's there. And also take your opinion. So you could tell them something that is right based on your experience, but some people are hard-headed. So at one point I was saying we should interview you to put you in this video. No, I don't want to be interviewed, whatever. So I finally, before we wrapped, I was like, well, just sit down for 5 minutes. Let's interview you. So we interviewed him just to have it. But then when we did the edit, the editor had to re-edit like 6 times because the profile piece became more about the artist than actually his work. So that changed our entire treatment and everything. And then their communication style, we would ask them for edits. Everything looks good, everything looks good. Literally on the sixth edit, oh, this just isn't my vision, blah blah blah. And I was like, you have to say something. Oh, I just wanted to see
Right.
what you guys would do. I'm like, no, this is your idea. This is just my interpretation of your idea. So you have to say something. And at that point, I was in tap out mood. So the editor definitely helped to guide that. But then the editor got frustrated because he went through 3 more rounds of edits with the client, and the
Oh my
client just
God.
bringing on his own editor. And I was still, cordial. I helped that his new editor just like, here's the footage. Let me know if you need anything. And I haven't seen the edit yet. It hasn't come out, and we shot it in November. So,
Mm.
you have a little piece that I have on like a private link that I show because I want to have a rep as a director.
Mm-hmm.
So I just show that private link, like, hey, here's my work. Because the work is beautiful. It looks like I shot it so it looks like a Nike commercial because I wanted to shoot it so that it's something for my reel too. But yeah, I think he probably had creative differences with his editor too. That's what my spider senses are telling me. So
Just somebody who's never satisfied,
yes,
basically.
it's never said, and it's usually the people with the smallest budgets.
I know.
I don't know why, but it's always like that. The people that have the bigger budgets, they may have a few tweaks here or there, but they're usually more clear, more direct and stuff, and their trust level is so much higher. I think also with bigger budgets, people understand that you're getting more of a service if
Yeah.
you do pay more. So
Yeah.
expect that and kind of fall back and say, this is an expert because I've paid this much for an expert.
Right. Right. Speaking of pay and money, can you talk a little bit about the budgets for videos for A-list artists? Like, what should people expect versus maybe like an indie?
Bigger artists, I mean, nowadays budgets are smaller. So they can be anywhere from usually 40,000 to 500,000.
That's a big range.
It is. So like Janelle Monáe's was definitely up in the 300s. We shot some Migos videos. They're like 75,000 or 40,000. So it just depends on the treatment too. This is after Bad and Bougie. At that point, they were making a point to shoot videos like every month. So sometimes when they're shooting a lot, the budgets would be a little bit smaller just so they can shoot more. And then for indie artists, their budgets are normally like 3,000 to 10,000. But I normally don't take those anymore. They're headaches. And because as a producer and most crew members, you're putting in the same amount of work, no matter if it's a $10,000 budget or 100,000. So I'm like, no.
But I'm assuming that if an artist is really big, like say Beyonce, her budget is probably like even more than 500K, right?
Yes, Beyonce's budget could be 3,000. I would say yes. And I do have some clients like that too. Like no matter what they ask, I'm gonna say yes to it. And some directors, just because sometimes the coolest projects don't have the biggest budgets, and sometimes they do. But I have some people like that. I just say whatever you want, we're gonna do it just because I respect their vibe and where they're going. And so, it kind of just depends on Beyonce. Yeah, her budgets are definitely up there.
So the music videos that are in the hundreds of thousands, like how much can a director expect to get paid?
I didn't learn this until maybe like 5 years in. And that's one thing about producing. People don't really share. I like to share because people share with me. But so the breakdown is the producer gets 5% of the total budget. The director gets 10% of the total budget. And the production company gets 15% of the total budget.
Got it.
And that's something I wish I would have learned sooner too, because as a production company owner, I wasn't taking that production fee sometimes. And that production fee was important because it, just helps you because you're using your paper, your office equipment, all that stuff.
Right.
Also, you're paying taxes on that full budget.
Can you explain what a production fee is, and like what opportunity were you missing out on exactly?
The opportunity I was missing out on was when it came like tax time and like replenishing stuff within our production office. It would be more like, oh, now I'm paying out of my producer's fee.
Oh, got you.
So they would hire you a production company, but you weren't like expensing
Right.
the
I
things
wasn't
that you
giving
guys
money
had to
to
pay
my
for. Yeah.
actual company. Yep, yep. And so when it was time to pay for taxes, I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
so
those are pretty significant costs. So
yes, yes.
I get it.
And so like since kind of focusing on directing more, I've been able to, like, when I do take on producer projects, my mindset is different now. And I also ask my peers. Like, I work with Motion Family a lot. I've been working with them for 10 years, and they actually produce for me now. And I was asking one of the guys who handles more of their finances. I was like, "So how do you do it?" He was like, "Well, when I get the production fee," he said that he'll just go ahead and just save the taxes. So he'll just calculate how much the taxes are on it and just save that into a separate account for taxes. So I was like, that's so smart. And I think my tax accountant recommended it too. And that's something that people don't tell you as a production company owner.
How long have you had your production company?
I've had it for 10 years now.
Oh wow,
Mhm.
that's dope.
Thank you.
That's dope. And when you say that 15% towards the production company,
Mhm.
that is then allocated towards like the crew, editors.
Mm-mm, that's just for
No,
production companies. So at once you finish with the 5%, 10%, 15%, the rest of the budget is for the crew, editors, all those people.
got you.
hmm
Got
That kind of helps with, like, based on, like, if I'll take a treatment or not, or if I will take on a project based on, like, what my fee would be based on the amount of days. Because sometimes, especially as a producer, you take on these projects, and within the bid, like, say if the budget is 40,000. So as a producer, you're getting 5%, so you're getting 2,000. And usually, um, I mean, as a newbie producer, your rate should be like 500 a day. I'm not a newbie, so mine is between 750 to 1,000 a day.
Okay.
So usually, it's just not worth my day rate to do it unless I like, if I like the artist, if I like the director. But you're spending more than 4 days on that project. You're spending like 2 weeks to prep it, to shoot it, to wrap it. So it's kind of like sometimes, a lot of times, it doesn't really add up. So it's kind of like, why am I doing this? And am I doing it for my career? You just gotta reevaluate why you're doing that project.
So basically, you would, and hypothetically, get paid for like 4 days of work, but you're really doing it for 2 weeks, is what you're saying. Yeah,
Right.
got you.
Yep.
So can you tell us what you love about directing music videos in particular?
So I've actually only directed a few music videos. I've been directing more like commercials, but just directing in general, I like that you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. And it's exciting and an energy boost that all these people and crew on set is, all on board with your vision. So that is very encouraging. It's like, wow, you guys really liked what I wrote. So I think that's a part of it that's exciting for me. And just being able to just only be creative for me is like the most relaxing part, because more naturally how I am. And that's probably why I
Right.
get knots in my stomach when I produce. I'm like, oh, why are you making me do this? But as a director, I'm like, oh, great.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. Awesome. Is there a favorite video that you worked on, or commercial, either projects in general?
For directing or producing, there's a few favorites. A lot of times, producing projects, they don't become my favorites until like they're done and out.
Okay.
Like, one that I really enjoyed was Summer Walker's Girls Need Love video. Worked with Lacey Duke. And it's cool to Lacey and I have different vibes, so it's cool to kind of finally get your vibe right as directors, and just cool, and just also been able to work with another woman is always great. Of course, Janelle Monáe's project I loved, and I also love, it was a project that we did with Usher 2 years ago. It didn't get a lot of views on the video, but I just really enjoyed the director and the crew. The director is a guy named Yanni Loplin. He's from London, white guy, but he just shoots Black people in a beautiful manner. And that's mainly what he shoots. And he shoots for like Calvin Klein and Vogue and different things like that. But I love that shoot the most because it was my second time working with that production company. And just everybody on set was really chill. And it was just felt like a really easygoing set. And I work really hard on sets because as a producer, director, you are helping to set the energy for the whole set. And I love when people come on set and say, "Wow, I just really had fun on your set." I'm like, "Thank you. I work really hard to only work with people that work at a high level, number one, and know how to have a good time." Um, that to me, that's big because I feel like it's such a privilege to do what we do. So when people come on set and are mean or grumpy, for me, that's like a heck no. You got to go. Even if you're the artist, because many artists have got a cute little mic cuss out, because it's just I don't like.
So you've directed some shorts, you've directed commercials, and you've directed music videos.
Yes.
Um, what are some of the differences in your preparation for these projects?
For commercials, it's more communication with the client, and it's more you're preparing more things that look like the one treatment that you made for the music videos. You're creating like maybe five more of those to because it's important for them to be able to kind of see things visually and putting things into one document because they're sharing it with so many people. Like for a music video, you may create two things total. One is the actual treatment, and then two would be like a styling guide for the wardrobe stylist, so they can see, this is the type of outfits that I see the artist in. Um, but for commercials, I try to be a lot more detailed because every time you send something, you're going to have a call with that client because they are, more detailed and they have time to talk about it. And it's usually more prep time. So you're submitting that initial bid and they're saying great, but then you're revising it based on their brand goals and what their brand is with their fonts, their colors, the things they say, the things they wouldn't say as a brand. And then you're also deciding on talent. We're doing a separate, presentation for casting. Then I usually do like once we decide on everything, like wardrobe, casting, the treatment, the concept. I'll do one more final document before filming, just so that they can see it in one document and sign off on it. Just because there's so many people within their company, they have to get to approve it.
And what about
Mhm.
between like like a narrative short and a music video? Like, are you storyboarding your music videos? Are you writing you just have like a shot list?
Music videos, I'll do a shot list, and then me and the DP will go over it, and I'll keep the shot list as well on set. For shorts, it's the same thing. I'll create a shot list, me and the DP, but I haven't ever done a storyboard. My first time doing a story actually was for commercials, and that was pretty cool to work with a storyboard artist. Just because I think in music video worlds, the labels are just more used to doing a bunch of music videos, so they get able to move quicker. But a lot of brands or companies they don't shoot commercials and stuff all the time. So you do have to be a lot more detailed because they're like shot lists. What's happening? I know we saw it in the treatment, but what does that mean? What does that look like? So a lot of times for my last shoot for Head and Shoulders, I had actually my sister's husband. He is a storyboard artist and a tattoo artist. So he designed my boards, and then I had my graphic designer create the graphic text that we wanted over his pictures, and they edit and send their notes back. So that was pretty cool.
Can you talk about some of the biggest lessons you've learned from directing and producing?
One of the biggest lesson, I'm not even sure I learned this from directing or producing. I think I learned this as an editor. I started off editing when I was in college, and I would have all types of clients that just come to my house and drop off their footage. It was communication. Like even if like whatever fire you have to put out for their project is not your problem. It's the client's problem. So you need to talk like when I was editing for PAX TV when I was in college. And usually each episode needs to be like 28 minutes and something seconds. And one time I turned in her edit. Normally she would take the edit for me, the final one, and take it straight to the television station and for it to go on air. I think one time it was like 27 minutes or 26 minutes. And I still gave it to her. I didn't mention that it was short. And then so she called me the next day. She was like, "So Maya, we missed the on-air spot. Why didn't you tell me that we were short? I was like, because I didn't have enough footage." She was like, "Well, you could have told me. I could have got more footage to go in that spot." I was like, "Dang." I never worked with her again, never talked to her again.
Ooh.
I don't even remember the lady's name at this point. But for me, that was a huge lesson, like, wow. So even if you're on set and there's a problem, you need to say it to whoever the person is, whether the person is the director, the client, just voice it. So usually I try to communicate whatever issue there is, or especially my concerns as a producer. So because as a producer, your concerns are the most valid because you're taking everybody's thoughts of what they think and saying, here is what we should do based on what can make everybody happy. And because you are the problem solver on set. So communicating and also communicating about money. That is a pain point for so many crew. And I think that's another reason why crew members love working with me because I am so blunt about money. That can just break so many relationships. So very first conversation, we talk about money. We get that out the way. Like, hey, here's the project, here's the budget. Let me know if this works for you. Even if it's like, so for my short films, usually I don't have a budget, but so I'll pull crew members that I've hired a lot and say, hey, this is a project, personal project for me. Can you do this film for me for free? And they'll usually say yes because they believe in me. They like working with me a lot, and I always guarantee them that they're on my next job. And so like the people that worked on me on this Head and Shoulders commercial, they actually shot my film for me last year for free, or for super low. So it's kind of building that relationship, but it's all on communication. If you communicate with people, then they learn to trust you more. They know that you aren't gonna, if you told them you're gonna pay them in 30 days and it's 30 days, don't let them hunt you down. Hunt them down and say, hey, I know it's 30 days. I'm still waiting on this too. But it's just, that's the biggest part is just being open with people because when you do have projects, you want to rely on those same people to help you execute your project. And if you were shitty to them the time before, then they're going to be like, I'm good. Or they're going to say, oh, don't work with Maya because she doesn't treat her crew right. So if anything,
Right.
people know that, I'm going to make sure that we're all paid. And that's another reason I don't take on certain projects is because I feel like the client wouldn't pay or they're going to just not do right by me and the crew. So I usually say no on behalf of that or cancel shoots before we're going to shoot it because I'm like, yeah, I felt like y'all won't get paid. So I don't want to even put us all in that situation. So communication.
Yeah, no, because it gives you leverage to negotiate when you really need help later on.
It does. Yep. And even if people say no, it's like you still can, respect that too, because everybody else has bills too. So sometimes
Right.
it's about timing of when they can say yes. Mhm.
Is there a specific location someone should be if they really want to work on music videos as a career?
Definitely Atlanta. New York is a
Okay.
good spot too, though. New York just has so much more you have to think about. Like you have to have interns just for parking, and it's so many more bells and whistles. Atlanta, a lot of times people shoot here because it's more flexible. It's more locations to film outside of the city where you don't have such a long permit process. So I would definitely say Atlanta is number one.
You were born and raised in Atlanta, right?
I was born and raised in Memphis, but I've been in Atlanta since the fourth grade, so pretty much.
Got you. You've been there for since you were a
Yeah,
child.
it's only
Got you.
just 2 years
Uh,
ago. So
we'll go with that. So basically, like when you after you graduated college, were you like, I'm just gonna stay here and figure it out, or did you like what was your thought process in staying in Atlanta? Because you could have gone to New York, you could have went to LA. And I think when you did graduate from college, correct me if I'm wrong, you like Atlanta wasn't quote unquote as hot it is right now. Like it wasn't a booming city.
well, so I graduated in like December, and in January I started working with Sierra. Because when I was in college, I also had a dance agency. So I was a dancer, and I was like, there's no agency for us to like, what if a client wants to come here and book a dancer, one of us to go on tour? We don't have a middleman. So I had a dance agency in college, and one of my clients was Lloyd, the singer, and his accountant was like, "Hey, I have this another client that I want to partner you with." I'm like, "All right." So I walked in the door with Sierra. So we started an agency a month after I graduated. So that's actually what kept me in Atlanta. And then I would fly to LA with her, and we would meet out with dancers in different cities. But so I didn't really have an initial thought. And also I was in a relationship at the time. So I wasn't really in the mindset of traveling anywhere else. But now, yeah, I wouldn't travel because when people come here, they see me as an Atlanta producer. So a lot of times companies, agencies, directors will ask for an Atlanta producer, and I'm that person. So
Okay.
so I would travel to other places to work, but I would still basically say I'm Atlanta, just so I don't want to, miss out on coins.
What tips can you offer directors that want to start working on music videos? Like, what do you think are the some of the paths to break in that maybe didn't exist when you started out?
Um, so actually there aren't any new paths. All the paths are the same because there's so many of them. The main thing I would say is treat your crew right, because those impressions last a very long time. Even you know if you do link up with the artist and you guys do a whole bunch of videos and you get hot for a second, still treat your crew and stuff right, and don't try to do everything yourself. And just, when you do your first couple of videos, it's going to be shooting it for artists for free, for a few of them, like, hey, let's let me shoot something for you. Cause there's so many indie artists that need content, but you're shooting it to get examples of your work. Cause it's like you want to shoot for Beyonce, but Beyonce gonna be like, so show me examples of your work. Well, I don't have any. Well, okay, bye. So
Right.
when you're shooting stuff for free, or they may have a small budget like $500 or something, but you're shooting it to show examples of your style, your eye, and you're also, it's helping you to troubleshoot so that when you do get budgets from clients, then you'll already have gone through those different issues. Um, and which crew work good for you. So I think just kind of just doing it and putting yourself out there that you want to shoot stuff for people, and also just treating people right at the same time.
Now, let's say, a director has three music videos. They're like great music videos, but they were for artists who are essentially unknown. They haven't popped yet. Um, then what? Like, what does that director do? Or are we, should they uh, cold email people? Like, how does, what's
Yeah.
the next step?
They should call email people because it's not about, because I think when we did start working with Jeezy that time when we were super new, I think the director I was working with had only maybe shot like 4 music videos at the time,
Mm,
but they just looked so cool. It was like, who is this person? Because people love the new person.
mm,
People love that. So, if those music videos were like amazing, it's like, okay, wow, let me find this person. So that's one thing that you can always rely on. But don't shoot a music video just to shoot it. And it's like, this looks basic like everyone else. And it's nothing new. I can't see your style. So it's more about the quality. So if you have 3 ones that look cool, then video commissioners will always take a chance on you because they always have artists that, you know, don't have big budgets that they need content for.
what's a video commissioner?
A video commissioner is a person that works at the label, and sometimes they are freelance for the label, but they're basically the voice on set for the label. And also, they're the person that speaks on behalf of the label to find the directors and producers
Mm,
for artists. So they're the person that knows about the most about production,
mm,
and they work for the label to say, okay, like here's this song for this one artist. Let me, based on that, and here's the budget, then these are the producers I think should work with this artist, and these are directors that I want to submit a treatment for this artist. And so they have the biggest bird's eye view of, what artists are coming up, what directors are coming up, who can I pair them with, what the budgets look like too. So a lot of times they always have artists that have, budgets of $5,000. So they will take a chance on new directors. And
mm,
what the key is, they'll pair new directors with seasoned producers so that the process is still smooth.
mm,
Okay. Um, one thing I've noticed about a lot of indie videos is they usually have only 1 or 2 locations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think that makes people less impressed with their work and people should really try to mix it up?
Mm-mm.
Um, Okay.
It's about creativity because you can shoot in one location and it'd be amazing. I think it's just a lot of times people aren't as creative, or maybe they are. Or I wouldn't even say aren't creative. I think people are lazy. It's like they don't want to take the time to try to make their video look so different or
Yeah.
different than the person's. Whether it's just not doing handheld, doing a slider, or if you don't have a steady cam, just some type of way. But I think it's just more about even your editing style. Even if you shot it basic, because I edit a lot for people still,
Okay.
and even just the way you edit can be something different that looks amazing. But I think people just do what they see other
Other
directors
people
doing.
do.
Yeah, so it's just like, well, why would I go with you when I can go with so and so? What style do you have? What different can you add?
So what makes a music video look basic? Like kind
Uh,
of lame.
if they don't if they don't have any motion to it, like if there's no camera movements. Now, if
Okay.
it's intentional for the camera to stay there and there's the action in front of the camera is dynamic, then don't move that camera.
Mm,
But and then the lighting is bad, and bad lighting is just super clean lighting, no shadows,
mhm,
and it just looks bright. And if that's what you're going for, like a pop star, then that's cool. But if it's like a music artist, then you want to work with the budget that you have, which is usually not a lot. So you
right.
can get away with one light and just base it on like shadows and make the shadows look artistic. So a great example is Motion Family. You can even go back and look at their older videos when we first started working together. They
Wait,
used to
say
shoot
it.
on,
Say it
yeah,
again.
Motion Family.
Okay.
When we first started working together, they were shooting on Canon 5D cameras,
Mhm.
Mm.
but they were just good at just using natural lighting, and that also makes the artist look stronger and more dominant because they're normally shooting black men too. And they're just finding those textures. So they would do like close-up shots on the jewelry and just things like that. So you feel like the essence of it. A lot of times new directors don't, they only do like wide and medium shots. They don't really get in there for you to understand the essence of what's going on. And all that stuff equals up to like, wow, that felt like something. So I think just taking time to go back and do that B-roll too stuff really
Mhm.
helps out.
What do you think of the state of music videos right now?
The budgets are super low, but I think it's just so much out there I just think this makes it more competitive, um, to be creative. Like a lot of times when artists come out with videos and they spend all this money on it, and if the treatment is basic, I almost feel like don't even do a video if you aren't going to have a concept that makes you want to look twice at it, because there is so much content coming to us every day on our timeline. And if you don't have anything that's like that makes you want to watch it more than once, then you shouldn't even do it. And so I think a lot of times the content, I'm just like, oh, like I remember there was a treatment I saw for a Gucci Man video. And then the actual video they went with someone else, and the treatment was just him in front of a car. I'm like, that video really got low views. I'm like, you could have done anything. Just like what's his name? The baby did that video where he was dancing. The video he
Mhm.
only shot the video for half the song and that was it, but it was so entertaining. You're like, oh, what's this? So
Right.
I think people forget that they need to do stuff that's gonna grab the audience's attention.
I actually agree with you, but I feel like there are these outliers, and I don't even know if I want to use the word outliers because it happens kind of often. Bobby Smurder, 6ix9ine, like their first videos, like Gummo, Hot Nigga, like those videos are just them and their boys in the hood. Like the Hot Nigga video is not a good video, but it has that shit made him blow up. He blew up.
But it has energy to it. That's the thing. Like it can be a hood video. I'm down for it, but it has to have like a certain energy to it. Like it can't be, especially like when artists are new. We don't want to see you like with a whole bunch of chains and iced out. But if it like those just seem real and they seem, genuine, and they had a certain like energy to it. So I think if you just kind of even pay attention to like that kind of like I commissioned a video for a Casanova like 2 years ago, and the energy in it was crazy, and we had a hearse. It was just so it's just like we shot it super basic, but it felt like authentic and it felt real, and that's still a style too.
But it's like, how does I that makes sense? But it's like And I don't know what their creative process was like. It's like we're just gonna go to the hood and just shoot this. You know what I mean? What is the treatment of that?
That's it. I go to the hood and shoot it, and you're gonna get, all those authentic moments. So like they had, little B-roll stuff in there, and if the song is hot too, of course, that is the part that makes it pop. Just like the Bad and Bougie video. When you look at it, the video is just like, it's alright, but it's the song was popping. So in those cases, the song is a big factor too.
Tell us more about formulating your production company, um, and how you kind of make that work in tandem with getting hired to
Um,
fill specific roles and productions.
mhm. Um, so when I started our production company was because I started as an editor, and I felt like editing would help me be a stronger or have a stronger eye as a director, which it definitely has. But people would always ask me to edit their stuff, and I was like, well, let me just have a company, and I'll just create a company, and that was just based on people always, having me to edit. And from there, they would say, "Well, can you shoot this or shoot that?" Sure, because I know how to shoot too. Then so from there, I just base it on the need of the project. So some projects now are still just me working on it. Like say if they need an editor and I'm not busy, then I'll do it as or based on the level of edit. But if they say, hey, we want to do, an animated project, then I ask their budget. And so I kind of fill spaces based on the need of the project. So like I just did an animated project for Google in January, and we had it was 10 of us working on it. Um, which was like a research assistant to pull the images, a motion designer, a graphic designer, actually two motion designers, a graphic designer, a audio mixer, a photo retoucher. So and these are all positions just based on, you know, what's needed for that project. So that's kind of how I fill it out.
And what does your production company do exactly? Like how do you brand yourself?
I brand myself just more as like a full service production company. And really over the past year, when I do productions, um, well, last year was more just like me directing, so I direct stuff and just kind of stopped taking on a bunch of production projects anyway, where I was producing. And this year really is our producer project, especially if it's like post production only, because I'm stronger in that area than the other producers that I know. But if it's producing, then I actually have been preferring not to produce live action through my production company, just because I really love working with other production teams. So, like, say if I worked, like I produced that 21 Savage Job for Motion Family, they handled the back end. So, like, I wrapped the project, gave them the final budget, all the receipts, and their accountant wrapped it. Their accountant paid out people. Usually, if it's my production company, I'm having to wrap it out and pay out people and pay the taxes. And I really enjoy just not having to have that piece on my brain, like, okay, there you go, bye. So I really love the freedom of that. And also,
Mm-hmm.
like, if I run into an issue, then I have somebody else I can say, hey, David, what do you think I should do in this situation? Because he's also the owner and producer of his production company. So you have somebody else you can talk to and kind of alleviate that stress of, oh, we got an issue.
What tips can you offer people who are looking to start their own production company?
I would say have a skill set before you start it. Um, it's it's really great if you can have a skill set of the things that you offer, because you get into so many binds. Like it's times where I had to re-edit stuff. There's plenty of projects actually I would hire on an editor. Like even for the Head and Shoulders one, I hired an editor because I thought I would be too busy because I was finishing out the Google project. And then he was just moving too slow on the turnaround time of the edits. Even though I did the first round and gave him the second round, I had to take the edits back on myself, but that kept the timeline going. So if you aren't able to do that, then that just kind of puts you in the bind, and you're also paying more money. So one of those skill sets of what you offer, or a few of them, you need to know how to do. Whether it's audio mixing or lighting or something, because it just makes it easier for you. And then also, when there's slow seasons, then you can take on those jobs instead of trying to hand those out. Like, I definitely have had a lot of editors reach out to me lately asking for work. I'm like, man, I love you, but I gotta take them jobs on when I get them, boo. You know.
Mm, mm.
So it just been able to, have a plan ABC and a few streams of income for yourself.
And what about like legal stuff? Did you have any like hiccups along the way?
Not in the legal department starting up, but when it comes to certain projects, you'll kind of learn more about, how can we have a product in the shot, or why can we not have a product in the shot, or what type of music can we use, what type of music, can't we use? What when it comes to images, especially images of historical figures, who do I need to get the license from these pictures from? So on that side, you kind of have to learn a lot more. But when it comes to setting up your production company, it's pretty easy to set up your company. The accounting part, I would say though, is one that people always forget or don't think about, which I later found out about, which is why I would want people to know ahead of time. Just so you know, like if you're already setting how to budget your projects, then it'll just help you in the long run because you'll know, okay, when I get this money, I got to put this money aside for taxes, this money aside for savings for the production company, and this is for me. So if you have that going into it, it makes it easier. So later on, you're not like, look at all the money I'm losing. It's hey, this is a part of business.
Why don't you tell us your top 5 music videos?
That I've done or just all together?
I mean, if you want to include your own, you can, but overall.
Okay, overall. Top 5 is Miguel's Sure Thing video by Hype Williams, just because I love that song and it's just so slow and emo. And I'm just like, I love Hype Williams. It would be,
Yeah, he's a veteran.
he is. It would be definitely the Travis Scott Sicko Mode video. Any one of the videos from Beyonce's Lemonade.
So now it's like a top 20 music video.
I just love that whole project. What is his name? Toby? I cannot pronounce his full name, but he is a rapper. It's him and his wife. Toby. Dang it, I wish I could think of his full name, but him and his wife have been doing videos for years. They do their own videos and they look so amazing. He just did a Tiny Desk as well, but I just love his stuff because it's so creative. And he's an example of, you can tell the budgets aren't big, but they're so creative in like their wardrobe and how they shoot it. And so I really admire his stuff. And the Yonkers video, I think it's called Yonkers. That
Oh, Tyler the
yeah,
Creator.
I always,
Yeah, that's a great music
that's
video.
another one too. It looked like one shot, and it was really simple, and that always stuck with me too. And
Hmm.
then I think I've done them already, but I add one more. Is I think Nabil did this one, "Mercy" by Kanye and the whole crew. Lamborghini Mercy.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That
yeah,
music
yeah, yeah, yeah,
video,
yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
it
yeah.
fire.
cool? I keep saying, like, how did y'all do that? So
Yeah.
once they have visual effects or just like one takes, like, Put a Ring on It by Beyonce, or Beyonce's Me, Myself and I that was backwards and stuff like that. I love videos like that. I'm trying to figure out how did they
Hmm.
do that stuff, and it seems so
Hmm.
seamless.
Now here's a $64,000 question. Your top 5 rappers of all time.
Andre 3000, my husband.
That's a good one. That's a great one.
Very Atlanta
Yeah,
answer
it
right
is
there.
like
Okay.
Kendrick Lamar.
Mm.
What is J. Cole,
Mm-hmm.
Nas. I got one
Mm-hmm.
more. Would be Lauren Hill.
Nice.
Okay. That's a solid starting 5. So, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us about your production company? What I guess maybe what you're working on next, or what you'd like to accomplish long term?
Yeah, I am. I Every couple months I'll kind of think about, like, what am I doing? Should I be doing something else? And what really makes me happy? That's a big part of what drives me, is what makes me happy. And so I've been wanting to go more into directing and visual effects, supervising or producing. So those are 2 areas that I'm concentrating on lately. And then for people, this production and entrepreneurial journey is a process. It's a marathon. So, like last year, when I decided to concentrate back on directing, I actually moved back in with my parents because I realized that I was making all this money from productions, but I wasn't saving anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I would make money, it would go to pay all my bills. And it was just like I could not get out of that, cycle. And I just had to like humble myself and say, let me just move home where I have an opportunity to move home with two retired parents who drive me crazy, but I love them. and and just like take time to reassess how can I do better going forward. So last year was super rough because I wasn't taking on as many producing projects just because I didn't want to be that stressed. And because it literally was stressing me out, like my eczema was flaring up and things like that. So it was just like, how can I get my mental health together? Not that, but to my physical health, and really concentrate on things and take this opportunity to just do it now. Like sometimes we procrastinate on stuff, but it is okay to take those steps back to go forward. Like last year, I maybe worked on. Usually, I would have like 4 projects a month. Last year, I might have had 4 projects total, and I even was a babysitter for a little bit. I didn't go. I didn't ask to be a babysitter, but I had my sister's friend was like, "Hey, my kids love you. You want to be a nanny?" I was like, "Sure." So I did that for some months, but I also took it and said yes to it because I wanted God to know that, listen, I am humble, and if you present me with something, I'm gonna say yes because I want you to know that I'm just down. So
Right.
whatever you want me to do, I'm going in that direction. And then when this year started, that's when I got the Google job and the Head and Shoulders job in the same month. And so I would say just do it, don't feel like everybody else is doing it. So what? Your vision is totally different than the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And just, stay encouraged and know that every job makes you better for the next one and the next one and the next one.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that and being so transparent.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
People weren't transparent with me, so I just kind of like to help people. It helps me too to even be encouraged by my own words too. But I just hate that people just did not tell me stuff coming up, especially people of color. I'm like, we have to
Mm,
help each other grow instead of leaving each other behind because we
mm,
need to
Totally.
help the next person. So that is a big thing for me.
mm. Awesome.
Well, Maya, this has been a lot of fun.
Yes, it's funny. I put on a full face of makeup for y'all too. What happened?
Yeah. My bad. We're our bad because we didn't tell you
It's all
that this
good.
was basically like
I,
an audio.
I gotta go apologize to my sister. I'm like, no, they're gonna see me. She was like, they said podcast. I'm like, I know, but you never know.
Oh my gosh. I've been having calls with my bonnet on all week. So
Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is.
I do. I do. But thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. It was a wealth of knowledge. We're happy to have you as part of our podcast lineup. And we wish you the best with your career. And if there's any way that we can support what you're doing, please reach out to the Black Film Space team.
Find me on mayatable.com and at mayatable on all social media. That's Maya, last name Table, like a dinner table.
Thanks for listening to the Black Film Space podcast. If you're interested in being part of our community and attending events, please visit us at blackfilmspace.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Black Film Space. Subscribe to our email list and podcast. All right, see you soon.